Ladies and gentlemen, Gungans, droids, Kiarimundi coneheads, whatever you might be, in our beautiful Kyber Empire, to today's video where we have the long-awaited 2024 greatest, ultimate free-to-play farming guide for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. As always, I want to thank you guys for your unending loyalty to the series here. Last time I did this video, how many did we get last time, Gary? 330 trillion views, 11 billion likes. As always, I thank you for supporting the series, and I thank you for the feedback you've given, because in today's video, you will see we've integrated a couple of pieces of feedback that you guys left in the last video to make this even better. As you'll see throughout our journey through the farming guide here today, you'll notice two new additions. Number one, an indicator to kind of describe what step in the path a certain project is in. So you might see a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5 to make it visually easier to navigate. And of course, at the very bottom, you'll see the order laid down. And on top of it, even better, highly requested, minimum gear recommendations to take on some of these legendary events. Like BB-8, Gear 9 is the recommended minimum to unlock him. And of course, the relic requirements needed for a variety of other projects out there in the palm of your hands. Now the question is, my friends, what is the journey that we are going to embark on? In this guide, and likely more going forward, we are not going to be taking the raid into consideration because they keep changing out the raid every couple months. So what we are going to focus on is the prime pathway to get you some of the most important characters, teams, projects that nest into one another. The Skywalker Triangle. And that Skywalker Triangle consists of Jabba, Jedi Master Luke, and the newly added Galactic legend Leia Organa. The goal is to start with one of those peaks, and then once you get one, the others fall into place so easily because they share a lot of the core requirements. However, I still believe Jabba the Hutt should be your entryway. And why is that? As I've said, it's a great entryway into the triangle, helps you build into the Executor as well as the other Skywalker triangle points. Jabba himself is the most important character in territory battles, bonus events to give lots of modding material, and more importantly, if you've watched our All Galactic Legends ranked in-depth review, you will see that Jabba is one of the best all-around performing characters for Galactic Legends on both offense and defense. And better yet, when you farm Jabba, the requirements lead right into his ideal team. Just like last time, we need to make sure your ship game is on point. And that is why the Executor is also going to be a part of the plan. I know ships might not be the most fun thing, the reason why you're playing this game. You're playing for the characters, but without ships, you aren't going too far. So right here is what I recommend the second you see these characters as you progress through Galaxy Heroes, bookmark them. Farm them ASA to the frickin' P. I'm talking things like Razor Crest, Hound's Tooth, IG-2000, Xanadu Blood, Darth Vader's TIE Advanced, the Imperial TIE Bomber, and the TIE Fighter, because those are what's going to be needed for the Executor, of course, and it takes a while to farm them up. On top of that, we need to get Zetas, and in order to do the Zeta event, you're going to need the Executrix, which you get basically for free, and you're going to need 6 dark side non-capital ships, and a lot of what I pointed out that we need to farm will do very well to knock that out. And with all that preliminary information out of the way, it's time to strap in and get into the 2024 greatest free-to-play farming guide. So, just like last year, I'm recommending to start your journey in Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, one of the first teams that you need to get up and running, the Imperial Troopers. The Imperial Troopers are going to serve one of many functions for your journey. Number one, they are just a super fun team to utilize in the game. They will beat a lot of your PvE content and a lot of the teams you're going to see early game inside of Squad Arena and maybe some Grand Arenas as well. And they do well even up against higher end teams throughout your journey. With the main focal point of the Imperial Trooper team is going to be Admiral Piet, because we're going to need him as early as possible to make sure we're setting ourselves up for that Executor down the road. But in terms of the building blocks, the Imperial Troopers are going to be a great tool to build into R2-D2's event, because that Skywalker Triangle with Master Luke, Leia, and Jabba really hinges on building Commander Luke as early as possible, and he's a foundation team, and R2-D2 is going to help out with that. The other team that we're putting back early on as your first first light side team that you should try to build out, the Phoenix Crew. Now, the Phoenix Crew went out of favor for a while, but now we're bringing them back early on because of Captain Sexy Rexy. New character for 2023, soon be double drop farmable. He transforms the Phoenix faction, making it things like the Grand Admiral Thrawn, Emperor Palpatine event so dang easy to accomplish. And furthermore, Captain Rex progressed the Phoenix into a late game powerhouse. He is amazing, even at low stars in the early part of your journey. And honestly, this is a little bit interchangeable. If you want, get the Phoenix first as your first team, Imperial Troopers as your second, however you want to cut it up. The next thing we're going to focus on is start building up that Commander Luke Skywalker hierarchy. With your R2-D2 at hand, we'll be leading into Commander Luke Skywalker. And this is a character that you're going to want to take as far as you can because, well, he's going to be needed for a lot of different legendaries in the long run. So last year, this is the more controversial segment, and I'm still going to interject this here. This is going to be a good time to maybe also start working on your Geonosians. Now, if you're going to be plugged into a great guild that's already going to get you Wat Tambor without you even trying to do anything, you could probably skip out on this. However, for most people coming to the game that might not be able to jump into a good guild, the Geonosians are a great early game team. They will help you and your blossoming guild into getting Wat Tambor. That'll also help you get Padme Amidala. Furthermore, they have a lot of great Geonosians that'll lead into some good capital ships and ships in general, and pretty solid in territory wars if you want to throw an Omicron on Pago. But one thing you for sure want to hop into as early as possible, the Bounty Hunters. The Bounty Hunters are going to first off lead into a variety of things like your Chewbacca, like your Millennium Falcon, as well as building up towards things like Jabba the Hutt. There are a lot of ways to take on the Chewbacca event. Gear 12 is usually the rough recommendation, maybe a little bit less if you have things like Mando, Grief Karga potentially. But the ones that I always recommend here, because they're going to be needed for Executor, Jabba requirements, things like Bosk, Boba, Cad Bane, IG-88, Dengar. And hopefully you took some of the early advice that I threw down and you were farming those Bounty Hunter ships, because that is going to lead us into the Millennium Falcon. But on top of that as well, hopefully things are just falling into place here and you're able to even do this next part, the Zetas that is. With all those dark side ships that I recommended early on, you need to have a steady stream of Zetas coming into your roster. So although I'm putting it here just because it's visually pleasing, and like I put in the beginning, dark side ships need to be a part of your early game planning no matter what you're doing. Without Zetas, you aren't going to make it far into this game. But here's your reminder, Zetas, get those dark side ships, no more excuses. Now, just like how last time I took a little break talking about Geonosians, here might be a good spot to kind of pause and maybe recommend a side project to build in. And what I mean here is this might be a good time to take a break and focus on some of the Revan stuff. Jedi Knight Revan, Darth Revan, which both then lead into Darth Malak. These are going to be characters that we're going to want to interject into some other things down the road, and it's going to be nice having them done as early as possible. They're great early mid-game teams to use in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. And of course, if you do this and you farm for things like Jedi Knight Revan and some of the Jedi you farmed will lead into Grandmaster Yoda very easily between Jedi Knight Revan, Bas-Lashan, Jolie, and Juhani. Throw in whatever other Jedi you might want. You're going to get Grandmaster Yoda easily. However, if you want to still stick to the beeline route to getting Jabba and Executor as fast as possible, you can delay the Revan farm for later and instead work straight into the Mandalorian Beskar armor. Now, this is a very easy event to take on. You won't have much issue. Low gear to unlock Beskar armor Mandalorian. But these bounty hunters, especially Mando as well as Grief Karga, are going to be huge. And of course, a little interchangeable. You can maybe go Mando first into your bounty hunters into Chewbacca. I want to make sure we pause for a moment. You have your Beskar armor Mando. This is now your reminder to get your Razor Crest. The Razor Crest should be one of the first things you farm the second you get access to the fleet store. So you shouldn't be waiting till now to farm Razor Crest. You should have been farming Razor Crest early on, because it will take multiple months to farm that. But finally, once you have your Beskar Mando, you have your Razor Crest, you are ripe and ready. The Executor. A lot of this stuff should easily fall into place farming this guide. You'll have your Imperial Troopers, you'll have your bounty hunters, your ship should be an early focus. Darth Vader and TIE Pilot, very easy farms. So this is truly your first Galactic Legend that you're going to be unlocking. Although not officially coined a Galactic Legend, it's a Galactic Legend in the ship game. And this is important because we're going to be able to make you competitive inside a fleet arena, which is still the best kept secret in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. For free-to-play players, if you're trying to keep up on your crystal game, being competitive in fleets are going to be key to making sure you have a decent crystal income. youbecome coming in. And now at this point, once your Executor's in and you're dominating the spatial realms, now we're beelining to finish that last segment of the Jabba the Hutt requirement. And here is where we're going to start leading into things like C3PO. Now, I am listing the easier members to farm up and running for the C3PO event with these Ewoks of Chirpa, the Elder, Poplu, Logray, and Wicket. However, I would recommend, if you want to kind of get ahead of the game, this would be a great spot to farm Nisa, because Nisa, farming her early as possible, make the C3PO event much easier, number one, and number two, you're going to need Nisa for Galactic Legend Leia. And then we lead into Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker, a really big part of the Skywalker triangle. I love how we have Jabba in the triangle. You know, Jabba, we're going to call Jabba Skywalker. He's more or less a Skywalker.
Who are you?
Jabba.
Who?
Jabba Skywalker.
Jedi Luke is going to build into a lot of great things. It's going to help your Jedi teams make them more powerful. You're going to get Wampa, which I highly recommend. Throw an Omicron on that Wampa the second you farm it up. Your Commander Luke Skywalker team is going to improve. And here is really your entryway into the triangle. Once you have Jedi Knight Luke up and running, you can go maybe Jedi Master Luke or Jabba. However, for the reasons I laid out earlier, Jabba the Hutt is the much better Galactic Legend. You now have some top shelf character power, where there's not a lot standing in your way. And really, to be honest, getting to the point of Jabba and Executor, you've really completed the core of what this guide is meant to set out for you. And at this point, you're probably well versed in Star Wars Galaxy Heroes and know where you might want to go from here. Now it's time to really capitalize on the early buildups that you did to now easily lead into a variety of other great stuff. For example, my free-to-play account, I unlocked Jabba earlier this year in January. Once you have Jabba, because there are so many shared requirements in the triangle, I got Jedi Master Luke Skywalker, another Galactic Legend, within 3 months. That is the power of following this guide and getting in the triangle. Early setups, big long-term playoffs. Continuing on my recommendation, Jabba working towards Jedi Master Luke, and the first thing you're going to need is to get your first order up and running, which will then lead into BB-8s. And here is where we need to have a conversation. This is free-to-play oriented for this guide here. However, there's an elephant in the room that we should address. Light speed bundles. If you ever plan on spending even a little bit of money in the game, I would recommend, there is no set schedule, it's random, we don't know when they show up, but at times we get light speed bundles that help you towards First Order, Resistance, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, Rey, and a variety of other big stuff in the journey guide. If you do see the First Order BB-8 light speed bundles, it is one of the best values in the game. For $10, $20, whatever it is, it'll get you lots of First Order, which will quickly get you another Galactic Legend Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. But if you're gonna still stick to your guns, keep on listening here. With your First Order leading the BB-8, you're gonna pick up your Jedi Training Ray, which of course is gonna be that last oddball piece needed for Jedi Master Luke Skywalker. And again, the great thing about things like Jedi Master Luke Skywalker, a lot of the shared requirements of Jabba the Hutt, such as C3PO, Han Solo. The other stuff here are just slight buildup over your Jedi Knight Luke requirements. Pretty much perfect your Commander Luke Skywalker team with that 3PO and Chewie, as well as laying down some important Rebel ships and Profundity requirements, which is going to be the next big thing we're leading into. So after Jedi Master Luke Skywalker, we are already 2 points in that triangle complete. But I want to make sure before we finish that third point, which is Leia, this is a great time to start getting your second Big Daddy ship, the Profundity. And really, the Profundity is going to be a 2-for-1 special. So we put a lot of direction early on in regards to your bounty hunter ships, farming them as early as possible. Here's a rule I want to make sure you have. The second you notice you're not farming any ships, farming more ships. You should be farming the Rebel ships. Luckily, if you farm Jedi Master Luke like I recommended, you'll have the Rebel Y-Wing. You're going to need Mon Moth, which again, you'll get through your Jedi Master Luke journey. You'll get your Hera very easy if you did Phoenix early on. But you need Dash Rendar. So I would recommend here, at this point, let's get Dash Rendar up and running. And maybe, you know what? Let's get Star Killer at this point. Star Killer is going to be a great fun side project, and I put that in quotation marks here, but side project, while you're farming your ship, getting your Mara Jade is going to greatly benefit your Emperor Palpatine on a whole new level, and it's going to be the core for your Starkiller, which you'll inevitably unlock. You'll have your Kyle Katarn to capitalize on your Jedi Master Luke investments with Mon Mothma. You'll have Talon, which will be used in a variety of different Sith-related things. But then there's Dash Rendar, which you're going to need anyways for Profundity. So this is going to be a great thing to build up Dash Rendar and the other characters in case you still need more time for your ships. And then Starkiller is a mini Galactic Legend. Throw it up your Palpatine that you built up early on, your Mara Jade. That's basically the core of what you need to take on a lot of things, like, for example, Galactic Legend Rey. And then once you have your Starkiller, you're basically putting full relic and gearing effort into your Profundity. Admiral Radis likely being the most challenging to get up and running due to that Relic 9 requirement that he's gonna need. But when all is said and done, you're gonna have your Profundity up and running. Really, the only thing that's gonna be the challenge is getting your relics, and you just really have to farm Radis. The other stuff is pretty easy to get. And here's a little added bonus here. Farming the Profundity basically gives you the Chimera because you need a bunch of Rebel ships. So you'll need to get your Phantom up and running, which isn't part of the Profundity requirements. But I'm gonna make an assumption that by now, once you have the Profundity, you've been doing Proving Grounds, you're over 4 million GP, you may have built up the Interceptor, and all of a sudden the Chimera becomes an absolute monster of a ship. And if you do want to build on top of the Chimera and really kind of double dip with these Profundity requirements, I would recommend making the TIE Defender Iden Versio ship a staple farm in that case, because once you have TIE Interceptor as well as TIE Defender, the Chimera takes out pretty much every fleet in the game. And then with that, we have Galactic Legend Leia, the final point in our Skywalker triangle. Now, I will say the reason why we're kind of delaying her right now is mainly because I feel like the other things like Jabba, the requirements build into a lot more things that you need to flesh out, which creates a lot of great domino effects like things when it comes to your farming progress. And at the time of the recording, Leia stuff isn't quite double drop farmable yet, but by no means do not take it the wrong way. Leia, although I'm recommending the third part of the triangle, she is the best Galactic Legend overall in the game right now. And again, between your Jabba requirement, your Jedi Master Luke, maybe like building Nisa early on, the Leia stuff should not be all that difficult to get, with the biggest concerns maybe being your Drogon and your Scout Trooper. So it's mostly just a progress of getting the gear maybe up and running, and the relics, of course. And then at that point, with all that hard work you put in, Leia should fall into place perfectly, that final piece to completing that Skywalker triangle puzzle. And everything from here on out is basically just kind of filling in the blanks of stuff you haven't accomplished. Like, for example, I would recommend getting Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, a great way of plugging into your Jedi Master Luke teams. And his stuff just recently became double job farmable too, and relatively speaking, he's pretty low gear to unlock, barring the Chirotech being the biggest issue. And then I would recommend as your next Galactic Legend, Sith Eternal Emperor. The good thing is we worked on a lot of the stuff with Palpatine, Thrawn, Piet, Veers. You have your Vader, your TIE Bomber. He wouldn't be that much more difficult to get after a lot of that work is already done. But I wouldn't recommend getting Sith Eternal unless you have Wat Tambor, or another key farm is getting in the armor to really make sure you can get the most power out of Sith Eternal possible. And then at this point, Jedi Master Kenobi is the next logical thing, because I estimate you'll probably have Commander Tano up and running by now. It's time to get Jedi Master Kenobi. And just another side note, we've been seeing negotiator-like bundles out there for light speeds. If you see it and you got some coins between the cushions on your seat, getting the negotiator would be a big deal for a variety of projects. And I guess this is a great place to pause. If you're looking for what to do with your Guild Event Token 2 currency, it is highly recommended you invest into Negotiator first. And then once you have your Negotiator, get your Malevolence. And then the good news is once you get your Malevolence and Negotiator, you'll be guilt-free and using all that Get to farm your Chirotechs. Once you get Master Kenobi, the next logical thing is probably going to be General Anakin Skywalker, which then will lead into Lord Vader. And the great thing about the Lord Vader farm, it forces you to get the Bad Batch, and hopefully this is kind of your cue to farm the Marauder. When you're building up your Bad Batch, you should be farming up the Marauder ship, because that will take the Negotiator to the next level. And the Negotiator, kind of like the Chimera, is able to beat practically every fleet in the game right now. So the last Galactic Legends, which is kind of odd because there's some of the easier Galactic Legends, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, as well as Galactic Legend Rey. The main thing is here, even if you're not buying the Lightspeed bundles, there are more important farms that need to be put early on. If you're taking the free-to-play efficient route, getting Kylo and Rey around this time, or if you want, get Superior to Kylo Ren and Rey before Master Kenobi and Lord Vader. After you get Leia, this is all kind of free real estate for what you want to do. So new to this list here on our guide is going to be the Gungans, and the Gungans we're putting more towards the end. They might, who knows, by next should be shifted a little earlier on, but right now they're not even fully farmable. Don't get us wrong, it is one of the best teams in the game. Great on defense, and who knows where they might lean into the list in 2025. And then we have the latest epic confrontation character, Bo-Katan Mandalore. For the point of this guide, there's a lot of other more important stuff that you need to accomplish. But nonetheless, don't get it twisted. Bo-Katan, she can take down some of the best galactic legends in the game, such as Lord Vader and even some Master Kenobis. We also have the Inquisitors next. I recommend farming the Inquisitors as close as possible to when your guild might get Reva. Inquisitors without Reva aren't really all that hot. The only reason to get your Inquisitors early if you want to get the Scythe, which is going to be a great tool for your Chimera. So this could change in placement depending on how your guild performance is in Rise of the Empire territory battles. Dr. Aphra's kind of in a weird place. She doesn't really connect to much in the game. I would say this, if you're bored and you want a star killer-like team, you can farm Dr. Aphra. However, again, there's not a logical place to connect her. She doesn't nest into many things in the game. Just feels like this is kind of where she fits logically if you're trying to go the efficient route. And then finally, we have the Big Daddy Leviathan. This is a very difficult fleet to get up and running. Very hard to beeline because one, it needs 2 proving grounds. It needs Malgus and Fury class interceptor and a lot of crazy high relic requirements. So even if you wanted to, it would be very difficult to get Leviathan early on. And my friends, it's a lot. It is a journey, hence why it's called a journey guide in Star Wars Galaxy Heroes. This is my 2024 best free-to-play farming guide. And a little bit of words of wisdom as you embark on your journey in this game. This is a marathon, not a sprint. This is gonna be a multi-year journey. Just to give you a little bit of perspective, this is my free-to-play account, which I started in 2021. And I'm about to hit 6 million GP for Galactic Legends. And I'm closing in on my Profundity. Very decent Chimera. Get my Executor, which, by the way, I still don't have 7 stars because it takes a long time to 7-star these big daddy capital ships. I have a lot of great core teams that I've built along the way, like Starkiller. And I'm able to be Grand Arena competitive. I'm inching into Kyber 2 territory, but I've been bouncing between Kyber 2 and Kyber 3 without having to spend any money. That right there goes to show that you can enjoy this game for free with the patience, the plan, the determination to crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of the whales. And ladies and gentlemen, Gungans and droids, that is gonna wrap it up for today's farming guide. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you find this helpful. Feel free to drop questions below. Myself or maybe other amazing people in our community will help you out. Hop into our live streams where I'm always showing my free-to-play accounts progress, doing grand arenas, giving tips and tricks that I'm doing. But more importantly, in case you're new around these parts, I want you to always remember how it's great to be in the Empire today. Oh, it's great to be in the Empire today. The sun never sets.